Welcome back to another episode of Peak Performers Podcast / show. You're seeing actually you might be listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play. Or if you're watching this not live, but you're seeing the video as well, welcome. It's good to, Dylan, give a wave. Many people have heard Dylan before. You heard his voice all the time on the podcast. Now you can put a face with the voice.
That's right.
We have brought back for you the question and answer session. So people send in their questions to thor@thorconklin.com. If you have any questions about business, send them in, and you might just end up here on the show.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
So, Dylan, what's our question?
So our question today is from Greg in Milwaukee. And what Greg's struggling with is he is a guy who's had, many business successes and failures. He's kind of a more mature entrepreneur in his late 50s. And he's just gotten out of his last company and said, hey, look, I've got, I have other ideas. I kind of want to get into it, but the complete landscape of business has changed. I'm somebody who has made a lot of my money and had a lot of my success in retail, kind of brick and mortar style businesses. And, if you are paying attention to the news out there, looking at what's going on, obviously it's not been very kind to retailers unless you're Amazon. So he's wondering, how, is it even worth it to kind of go into this knowing that, I wasn't raised with the internet. I don't know anything about social media. And even everything that I thought was always going to be, a moneymaker in brick and mortar, even that's changing. So is this a young man's game? Am I getting too old for this? Am I too old? Have I ridden in my last rodeo? Or what can I kind of do to, ease the pressure of feeling like I'm starting over when I'm actually closer to the end than I am to the beginning?
You're certainly not too old for business, but business is a contact sport. And it takes energy. It takes vitality, but it also takes experience. And it sounds like you've got the experience piece filled out. So what I always tell people that are older entrepreneurs, look, you've got to be flexible. You've got to be able to shift. If you think you're going to do business the way business has always been done, it's not going to work anymore because online will absolutely just kick you in the ass. You've got to have a model that is flexible. It's innovative. It moves with what people want nowadays. Look, Dylan, you're part of the millennial what is that, a tribe or like a
generation?
Generation. You're a generation. All right. Do you want things faster or slower?
Faster.
Right. Do you want them on your phone or you want them on your computer?
I want them on my phone.
Right. Look, so if you're serving the millennial generation, and quite frankly, I'll even go above the millennial generation at this point. If you're not selling things on your phone and it's not quick, dude, get out of business. I mean, that's what they want. You've got to do what your customer wants. Now, here's the great thing. You've got the experience, okay? If you don't have the talents in the area of online marketing, digital marketing, SEO, Facebook ads, Google ads, etc., hire it. Find someone that can do this stuff for you. Or better yet, find a young entrepreneur that's out there that is looking for someone with experience, okay? Come together, form a partnership, come up with a great operating agreement. You'll hear me talk about that all the time, and you got to have a great operating agreement. You do not want to make that mistake. I did that a couple times. More than I wish to admit. Yeah, that's where great learnings come from, right? Yeah, i.e. experience. No, it's a game that you can play. Now, you mentioned brick and mortar. If you're going to play in the brick and mortar space, you better be really careful, and you got to make sure that you've got a product that needs a brick and mortar establishment, and you can compete against online platforms. Look, if you're an example, if you're selling something that you can find on Amazon and you've got a brick and mortar operation, that's all that you have, and you've got to compete against them, man, that may not work well. I would not want to be in your shoes. I remember just 3-4 weeks ago, I was at a bike shop and I needed a bike pump. And they had one type of bike pump. And I'm like, I'm here. I need a bike pump. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to buy it. I said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to buy it on Amazon. And here's the reason why. It wasn't based on price. I wanted to go on Amazon and I wanted to read the reviews and I wanted to compare what people like me were saying about various pumps. I was not going to get that in the bike store that only had one pump. I know if I go to Amazon, it'll be here tomorrow. It'll be at a lower price, but that wasn't my driver. But I wanted to get the best and I wanted to hear people's opinions. That's where I went. I'm not buying online. I don't go to the store. I push a few buttons and it shows up on my, well, actually it shows up the concierge, but
but it almost shows up at your door.
It almost.
The concierge takes it to your door, or you take it to your door from the concierge.
Outsourcing that as well. That was a different episode about what to outsource. So yeah, it's not brick and mortar. You know, you've got to be able to adjust. If you're not, you're going to get killed. Blockbuster, great example. You know, they did not want to adjust. They ain't here.
Yeah, and look, you know, even just going out for lunch today, they have people that now, you know, you can get your fuel for your car delivered to you, brought to you, and they come and they fill your car up while you're at work. I mean, things that you thought would never not be brick and mortar, things that you thought, you know, would never be online or be deliverable or be mobile, and they are. So I think too, you can have a brick and mortar store. I mean, people still want to go and see things. You know, the thing that always comes to my mind is clothing. Yeah. Even millennials sometimes struggle buying clothing online because you don't know if it's going to fit. And if you buy different brands of shoes, sometimes you're a different size and yada, yada, yada. And it's already hard enough to return things. You don't want to have to return clothes online. Yeah. So I get it. Like there are scenarios where it makes sense to have a brick and mortar, but then maybe, like Thor said, partner with somebody and have a hybrid. Yeah. You know, pull a Target.
Yeah.
You have a site that has every single thing, and not every single thing that's on their site is in their store. And not every single thing that's in their store is on their site. But between the two, you can get whatever you want. And if you physically want to go to a store, they have that option. And if you'd rather go online, then they have that option too.
Yeah. So, look how Tesla's changed the game with car dealerships.
Absolutely.
Tesla dealerships in the mall. It's like 1,200 square feet. Here's the cars. Here's everything. You order it there, and then it gets delivered to your house.
Yeah.
They're not taking up 3 acres in prime real estate.
And I just don't think that you can anymore. I mean, how can you afford to, you know, run a business when you are paying, you know, something 20% of your money just to rent, you know, a place? You can't do that. So, I think the world is changing. I think that it's really hard because even, you know, as a millennial, I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. It's like the second that you master something, or, you know, I remember growing up and everybody thought MySpace is this great thing. And then MySpace isn't around and Facebook is around, and you know, it's an evolution, and even we're kind of trying to figure out, and the, you know, Generation Z behind us is trying to figure out, you know, what's going to be the next thing. So you're going to have to constantly adjust, adapt, track, measure. And, you know, I don't think that you need to be an expert in the internet. I don't think you need to be an app builder, but you know, you're probably going to want to bring somebody in at this point if you're going down that kind of road. So I think if Thor is buying stuff online and Thor's in his mid-50s, it's probably safe to assume everybody 50 and down is getting their stuff online.
That's right. And actually, I'm even on Snapchat now. Somebody told me that it wasn't just –
wow.
Yeah, I know. I asked my son to join. Apparently, he doesn't want me on the same Snapchat channel as he is.
I can't imagine why.
I don't know why. I mean, he's 20 and in college. It's like – but that's the thing, you know, literally it was a funny story. I was at a Kevin Hart concert, and this woman said, yeah, so you're on Snapchat. I'm like, no, I'm not on Snapchat. She's like, well, why not? I was like, well, because I'm about 30 years past the Snapchat era. She goes, all my friends are using it. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm not really. It doesn't matter. If that's where your crowd is, that's where your people are, that's where your customers are, learn it, do it.
Yeah.
If you don't want to, well, guess what? You're going to lose.
Or find someone who does, because It's impossible to know everything. Exactly. I don't know there's so many social media channels. I can't possibly know all of them even.
And now I'm the old guy.
I'm the young guy. And pretty soon that won't be true either. So we'll just have to see. But what is the step that someone like Greg could take? You know, what is what can help him kind of make the decision? Is it worth kind of going down and, you know, kind of facing, you know, riding in another rodeo, as he kind of phrases it, you know?
Yeah. Well, first you got to do a gut check. You got to make sure that you're really up for this. You got to understand if, what is your end game here? Forget about the business for a moment, but you got to figure out what's your vision for your life and when do you want to get to that destination? If you're going to say, look, I want to put another 20 years in, great. If you want to put another 5 years in, that's a different model.
Right.
Know what you're getting involved in. Know that with any business, and it sounds like you've started them before, that, if you think you're going to be profitable within 2 years, it might take 4 years. Make sure you've got enough capital. Make sure you've got enough runway there. Be very conservative in your projections. Once you figure out where you want to go with your vision of where your life is, make sure that you structure a business that is going to be in alignment with that and moves you closer towards that. Business is changing, but look, there's no age restriction or benefit by being younger or older or anything else. Look, what does it come down to? It comes down to identifying customers that have a need, have a pain, and then marketing in that space and identifying with them that you're their solution. Look, if you have a brain tumor, God forbid, okay? Are you going to seek out the guy that just got out of medical school, just finished his residency? Or the guy that's been doing it for 15, 20 years, that's the industry leader, that has gray hair? Probably the guy that's been around for a little bit. There's advantages. People want people with experience, but you've got to keep up with the times because they don't want to go to the surgeon that is using, old-fashioned, little handheld power drills, right? They want to go with a guy that's using the laser or using AI as part of their technique. I don't know what the latest, medical procedures, but you want to go with someone who keeps up with the trend. You don't want to go with a guy that's using, an old school scalpel that used to be used, 30 years ago. So there's advantages to being older. There's advantages to being younger. Figure out the space that you want to play in. Be realistic about it and make sure that it's in alignment with your overall goals. Do not just go in it because, you want to play at it. You do not play at business. If you do, you're going to lose.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is you got to have something that you can put your personality into. These days, whether it's Delta or Target or whoever, everybody has a political stance. Everybody has, kind of has to be part of the community in some kind of way. And it used to be 20 years ago, if you had a good and I wanted that good, that we could do business. And, today it's kind of shifted where, we kind of have to have, similar interest outside of you just selling me something that I need. So yeah, I think too, kind of like, having a child, are you ready to put in the work that is, not just teaching them right from wrong or, in this case, having a product or service that's profitable, but also, showing the way in the community, showing the way, by having morals and ethics and, it's just a completely different animal. So I think if you're starting a business today too, that's something else you really got to consider.
Yeah. Dylan, look, what kind of clients are attracted to what we do? People that come to us are entrepreneurs that want to get real, are willing to do the work, and do not mind me kicking their ass.
Yeah.
That's it. If you're looking for somebody to yes man you or yes sir or yes ma'am or oh, you're great, I think, yeah, not the right people. People that come to us want to get real, want to solve the problems, and want to take their business to the next level. And they're willing to do whatever it takes, and they're willing to get in the ring and get real with us.
Yeah.
That's what we work with.
Yeah. And it's not just that they want to make a change, they're willing to make the change to do what is necessary. So
right.
I think
and when they're not willing to make the change, they give me permission to drag their ass over the finish line. I had a prospect the other day. I said, what separates you from most of the business consultants and coaches out there? I said, at some point, you're going to hate my guts. And I'm going to pick you up by the back of the shirt. I'm going to drag your bloody body across that finish line, and we're going to get you to where you want to go. And I don't care if you're kicking and screaming and you've given up on yourself. I won't give up on you.
Well, hopefully that answers your question, Greg. And, anybody else out there that might be listening or watching the Peak Performers show now, formerly the Peak Performers podcast. And, hopefully that can kind of help you take the first step to making the change that you need to make and making a decision if it's even something you want to do at this point. So,
yeah. And if your profitability in your company isn't where you want it to be, where you need it to be, where it deserves to be, give us a call.